Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Stone Genius. This is Ro. I am the Stone Genius. You know me, I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. I am very excited today to have a special guest. I'm always excited to have guests. I'm always excited just to talk to you all. But I am very excited about the guest that we have on today. Her name is Olivia LaRue. She is a courtesan and a madam, and I am going to let Olivia kind of explain what that is. Hello, Olivia. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
So let me ask first of all. I, as a genius, I sometimes have to tell people that being a genius doesn't mean you know everything. And I will say that courtesan is not a word that I was familiar with. I assume that it had something to do with the old term courting or had a derivative, something of that nature. So, can you explain what is a courtesan? What is that? Like I said, I don't think I have ever heard of that term before.
Okay, I would be more than happy to define it, and I'm looking it up on Google. So I'm going to read it straight off of the internet.
Okay.
A courtesan, mainly in historical contexts, is a prostitute, especially one with wealthy or upper class clients.
There we go. Then we have to love Google, being at your fingertips. If we would have talked 40 years ago, we would have had to look up in an Encyclopedia Britannica or something what that it was. Um, a prostitute with wealthy clientele. Now you are in Nevada, correct?
You're correct.
Okay, what is the state of I guess let me give you the opportunity to explain what you do as a courtesan. What kind of just explain to the audience what you are, and then I have a ton of questions. So just what your title is, what it entails, things of that nature.
I would love to. So I like to use the term courtesan as opposed to the term escort or hooker. I still use those words, but I like courtesan because it kind of imbues this vision of like high class society, art galleries, and functions with hobnobbing with all these important people. And that is what I do in my job. I have clients and we go and we hobnob with important people and we travel all over the world going to really cool events. Um, Not all escorts get to do that. Not all sex workers get to do that. So that's why I call myself that because that's what I like to do.
So
But
let me ask this.
go ahead.
Let me ask real quick then. So that's where you are now as a courtesan. That almost sounds like because of the clientele or the level of clientele that you have, that's almost like a level that you built. So what did you see yourself think of yourself differently as you've been in this industry? And I guess that's another question. Like, how long have you been in the industry?
Good question. So I've been doing sex work for about 10 years. Now it's not been full time for 10 years,
Right.
but
Is it
10 years
currently full
ago,
time for you?
yeah, what currently it's full time in that not only am I a courtesan, I'm also a sex therapist. And so when I combine both of those jobs together, it makes a full time job for me.
That's awesome.
Right on, thank you.
Well, and
So in
that's
the
the other thing
beginning,
I want to mention
go
up
ahead.
front too that I think it's important that this should be considered an industry. And I think that I've said it many times when I complain about America that America was founded by Puritans, and it drives me insane like when people are too much. And I will say that I grew up in a very conservative family, but I was more conservative by proximation to everyone than it was anything else. And I remember I dated a girl from Denmark. And one of the first dates we had, she was going to change at our place, my place, and she like just took her shirt off, and I was like, "Oh, you're not very shy." And the statement she made and has hung with me for 35 years was, "You Americans are so funny about the body." And I've never felt that way, but I felt a lot of ways that Americans do. They're concerned about what others think. And that was never me. Like, I still at 55 wear a Speedo to the pool. I am thin enough that I can get away with it, and I like to be tan as much as possible. So I don't care about the other people, and that's why the thing about the industry I think is so important, because there are a lot of people out doing the sex work, I guess you could term it, for I don't have a better term, maybe you do for it, but that get marginalized, that may be human there's a lot of things that keep it in the shadows. So there in Nevada, it's very different. How is that setup there? And have you, I guess you've been in it for 10 years. Were you in Nevada when you began?
Yes, I've been in Nevada for the last 17 years,
Okay.
and the way we structure it here, people think that brothels are legal everywhere in Nevada, and that's not true. We have we have a few cities in this state, and in the city limits, brothels are illegal.
Okay.
In the county that those cities are in, brothels are illegal. So I'm in Reno, and that's Washoe County, and in Washoe County, no brothels. On the county borders, brothels everywhere. It's the same with Vegas. That's Clark County. There's no brothels in Vegas, but on the edge, the outskirts of the county, that's where all the brothels are. So people say, "Oh, that's different for you because prostitution is legal." Well, yes and no. But now here's what I like to tell people. Many cities have municipal codes that make it legal to be an escort. You just have to do your research.
Right.
So, you kind of got to throw it out the window, this concept that prostitution is illegal and I can't do that because I don't want to do illegal work.
Right.
It's just not true anymore. It's a fallacy. So, yes, there's brothels. No, I've never worked in a brothel. I'm an independent courtesan. Nothing against the brothels. I just have a family.
Right.
In order to work in a brothel, you have to commit to 2 weeks to a month of being there on property, and I can't commit to that.
Oh, they can't even leave the property.
Well, they can if they have their driver with them, and they have to sign in, sign out, and all this stuff. And I am American, and I really love my freedom.
Yeah.
And to me, that sounds a little stifling. Now, I get it. For a girl that's in, let's say, the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, and this is an opportunity to get out of her small town, and she's going to go work in a brothel. Hell yeah.
Right.
Go, girl, get it. Great. It's just not for me.
Right.
I have nothing bad to say about it. And it's the same with the girls that are standing on the street corner. That's great. It's just not for me. There's so many different ways you can be a sex worker. I'm not a cam artist because I don't really like computers that much.
Right.
I like interacting with people in person, one-on-one or two-on-one if I get that chance. That's always fun.
And I've always thought that has been odd since OnlyFans has been around. Now, I will say this, and everyone thinks it's odd. I have an OnlyFans channel. I've never posted to it. I've had it for probably a year. I've always said I would do it, but then I'm like, who's going to pay to see a 55-year-old guy, no matter what I look like, give me any money except maybe to turn the camera off. So, but it seems weird that like online it's okay, but then if it's like in person or even if it's not in person, but not behind a screen or something, that type of work is like, if someone says they're an OnlyFans, they still may get some pushback. Oh, really? Like a negative pushback? I think it's, I don't know nowadays how even people think about that. But I think if people tell you that if you're to say you're a courtesan, that people may be taken a little bit more aback by that. Have you found that to be the case when you use certain terms?
Found that. Yes, I found that to be the case, but I, like you, don't give a shit about what people think about me.
And that's, the funny thing is, I think that for a lot of the people that don't like me, it's for that reason. It was the
Mhm.
same reason I wasn't a big Trump fan, and it was everyone has different politics. I don't care if you have different politics. And my problem was that he got away with shit, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's okay. He speaks the truth." And I'm like, "Well, when I speak the truth, I'm an asshole." So it was more about the way that people are treated about that. But it's my wife and I, as I have gotten older, and this may just be that she's wanting to get out of sex at this point, or just for it to slow down in the frequency. But we've talked about that because we live in a very affluent suburb of Kansas City. There are a lot of older women, and I say older, but I mean I'm in that category now, 55 plus. But I've kept in shape and stuff. And my wife's like, you should look at being an escort, which, by the way, I have done my research and I have seen, because we're just going to jump to that part. Where did I put my note? You have a mentoring program.
I do. Yes.
So here's, first of all, I'm going to ask the quick question. Can men be part of your mentoring program? And the second longer question, what is the mentoring program? How would you help someone that was, so would you, I'm sorry, there's so many questions here. I get it, but this is my brain. Like, do people like explore, like, is it even exploring, like, oh, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to like retail, and they try a retail job and they're like, oh, didn't like that. I mean, or do people, I guess I don't really understand how you get into the industry.
Mhm. Well, that's very good questions. Yes, men can be escorts.
Yes.
Yes, I'm happy to mentor men. They have a little bit of a harder time getting into the industry than women for, obvious reasons, but
And why do you,
never say never.
why do you think that? I mean, it seems weird. So my wife and I have been watching this thing on Hulu about Chippendales. And the thing
Mhm.
is funny is I've only been to a few strip clubs in my life, but there the men were fairly docile. They were like just staring at tits and ass, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm seeing." And I could see it at home, so I just never got into that scene. But men seem docile, and like we're watching Chippendales, and every time I've seen women represented like around male strippers, it's like women are insane. Like they can't,
Right.
like they're screaming. And so that's why I think it's kind of odd that they're, just me personally, why there wouldn't, if they have that type of reaction, why wouldn't they be looking for a type of companionship where they just have a companion, because I know a lot of questions here. I want to mention a video that you had mentioned about 80% of your job being something I did not think it was either.
Listening.
Yes. That blew me away listening. And then you also mentioned cuddling, which I thought was funny
Mhm.
because I was like, well, my wife's out. She doesn't cuddle. I've tried to put my arm on her post-coital and gets thrown off sometimes. So she's not the cuddler, but I did think that was interesting that you said that a majority of your job was talking and cuddling.
Snuggling. Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
fun part? What's the most fun part of the job? Because I know that most people that would think about your job would be like, well, for a guy, they'd be like, well, it's the sex, you're having sex. But is it the other stuff? Is it the communication with people and the building of that relationship?
I think the most fun part of my job is, yeah, it's snuggling, listening, building relationships. Sometimes the sex is the most fun part of my job. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the second most fun part of my job, right?
Right.
Um, the least favorite part of my job is the screening, but it's necessary.
So do
Uh,
you? Because I have seen the information that you sent over, and I did some research and things, but like on your, because you do some traveling sometimes as well. I mean, so
mhm.
your screening process has to be, everyone needs to be vetted very well. Have you been able to keep circumstances, like bad circumstances, at bay because of the vetting process that you do?
Yes. Of course, in the beginning, I did not have a mentor. Nobody taught me how to do it. And I made some bad decisions based on mostly desperation. Um, and that's how I learned how to be a better screener. So there's, I always tell people, in the moment, I really wanted that $300, but now I'd gladly give that $300 back to not have those memories. But
Right.
hey, that's the job. And I don't put myself into those situations anymore. And I don't put the girls that I mentor into those situations, which is really the selling point of my mentorship program. It's like, okay, girl, you can go out there and you can learn the hard way, and that's fine. Or you can let me hand pick your clients and have a really good time and make a lot of money and see which one you like better. And then you probably won't feel too bad about having to give me a percentage.
So do you have to, I mean, have you in the past had to have tell a client no, not again? And how does that, or is it they don't even reach out? Like at the end of something, are you like, yeah, I can't do this with you again? Or do you wait, and if they reach out again, then you're like, no? Or have you ever been in a situation like that?
Yeah, that happens. That does happen. Sometimes clients think that just because they're loaded with cash that, I'll accept any sort of behavior. And that's not true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, everybody has a price. And maybe if you wanted to add a couple zeros to that number, I would put up with that crap. Or
Right.
maybe not,
Right.
you know?
And
Um,
that's what it's all
mm,
about. I mean,
mm-hmm.
you have a, like I said, a long time ago, I used to say I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't do something for, you know, a certain amount of money. But now that I'm older and wiser, I'm like, I'd probably do that now. I mean, you think about things differently and how they'll react in that. But what's when you're interviewing clients, do you get many that are referred to you, or like how is that, like, not, I don't want to say solicitation process, but like like if you were a real estate not a real, like an insurance agent, you'd
Mm-hmm.
go to a party and be like, oh yeah, hey, how's your life, I got home auto, and you would talk about it that way. Is that something that you can do or are willing to bring up in situations, or how would that lead into being introduced into a new client, or what you do that may lead to a potential new client?
Well, I have a perfect example of that. So when I travel and I'm on the plane,
Uh-huh.
if I'm
First
sitting, it's
class, I
basically, yeah.
nice.
Sometimes it's not, sometimes it's comfort,
Right,
whatever, but it don't matter. We're talking about our jobs, right? I
right.
bring it up. I tell it every time because I'm not going to see this person again and I don't care. And 9 times out of 10, the person next to me is very interested. And, if they're a woman, especially, they get really excited about it. They have a million questions. And if they're a
Really?
man, I see the gears turning. And I have met some really good clients by just giving them my business card and telling them what I do on the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's the
that's,
whole like not being ashamed,
yeah,
just be
and
me.
and you do have to do, I mean, sometimes you just have to. So one of my dilemmas with this particular show is the name The Stone Genius. I've had people
Mm.
actually say, "Oh, I can't be on a show that has the word stoned in it." And I always have thought it's funny that they're more concerned with the stone than they are the genius part of the show. But I was gonna change the name of the show. I used to have another show called the Roro Show, and I was gonna go back to using that name. But I finally was like, if they don't want to be on my show because of the name of my fucking show, then they don't need to be on my show. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
one that I want to talk to that badly. I'm not embarrassed, and I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to change the name of the show and then have to explain why I changed the name of the show. I would rather say, hey, would you like to be on my show? And if you would have said no, that would have been fine. So, I mean, I applaud you that, to anyone that is able to disregard many of the shackles that we have about just being honest. I always say, if you listen to a person talk, they'll tell you exactly who they are. And the cool thing are the people that just are honest up front and tell you things. Um, let's see. I had Let's see if I had any interesting notes when I was up in the middle of the night. I did want to ask about um, going back to the mentoring. like if someone reaches out to you to be mentored into, say someone just reaches out and says, I'm interested in learning more.
Hmm.
What happens next after that?
So what happens next is we will schedule a Zoom call and we'll talk about it. And I want to see their face and I want to see what they look like and how they present themselves. And then if all's good and all's a go, then we start working. I take I either take a retainer, because it takes a lot of time to
Uh-huh.
get somebody going. Now, if they don't have a retainer, then I do it a little bit different, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to take a higher percentage, blah blah blah, whatever. That's just the business mechanics.
Right.
Um, we get some pictures. I take the pictures. I get them a new phone number, website, landing page, the whole 9 yards. Put some ads up, all that. In the beginning, when you're a fresh new escort, there are and there are people out there who love to mess with escorts, and I didn't realize that until I experienced this. And
Meaning,
that's like all they do. Yeah,
what do you
they
mean mess with it? Like get you, or just try to set, like they're gonna set something up and then it never comes to fruition?
waste our time.
Okay.
Um, see how far we will go. Like, and that it's bullshit. There's just so many bullshit artists out there, and they're crazy and they're weird and they get off on it. They must get off on it.
Has it gotten
And they're
worse
kind of
over the time that you've been in? You say you've been doing this for 10 years. Has it gotten worse over that 10 years?
it's probably stayed the same.
It has. Okay.
It's
And I
just
did
stayed the
see
same.
at least, so here's another thing. I saw all the glowing reviews of yours on your website. And then, but I mean, that's also amazing because almost everyone no one mentions that's why sometimes I feel weird, because I feel like that is part of the job, but it's not. I mean, I feel like even me before watching your video feel like it's a higher percentage, like, oh, well, you have me for an hour, so we're going to be doing what we're going to be rolling around for the next 59 minutes, and that's not how it is.
No, it's not how it is. Some guys come in thinking that's how it's going to be. And, maybe it is for them. But when's the last time you were able to fuck for an hour straight?
Right. Oh, exactly. And that's why, it was funny because I think that the number used was 80%. And I actually mentioned my wife the same exact thing. I go, well, 80% of an hour is still 12 minutes. And I go, I don't know a lot of guys that can last 12 minutes. She, that was her reaction too. So, but I mean, it was, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I get it. And I mean, and I say this weirdly. So, and my wife is well aware of this. Before I met my wife, I slept with somewhere near 1,000 women. And,
Ooh.
yeah. And it was a physical act. And it's funny because, so I lied to my wife about the number. And when and I have to explain that because she didn't ask until after she was pregnant. So
Mm.
her and I do a podcast called The Longest One Night Stand. We literally, it was supposed to be a one night stand. The next morning I said, I've met the girl I'm going to marry to my roommate who has worked with this girl who's now my wife. And then we found out a little while later, a few weeks later, that she was pregnant. So, I say to, so when she was already pregnant when she asked. So I think I said single digits. And then I kind of
Mm.
said I slipped, and then I let her do the math and try to figure out the frequency and all that. So I was with a lot of people. It was during the 80s and 90s. So it was during the height of the AIDS crisis, or the AIDS scare, where everyone was afraid to have sex with everyone unprotected. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it was always a physical act. And it was always, to me, it was same way with my wife. There was a reason we thought it'd be a one night stand. Like a half an hour after I met her, I was like, you want to leave? And she's like, yeah. So she left. So I just happened to do it. So, and I always tell her now, I go, would you have rather me have been with X number of girls before I met you and you were the last, or would you have rather been the first girl that I was with, but then once we got married, I was with another 10?
Hmm.
And she was like, okay, it makes sense. But to me, sometimes it was just, I mean, I was attracted to them, but it was a physical act. It wasn't like,
Mhm.
and I'm such an upfront and open person that I talk about that. I mean, I would just be like, and I remember there were times where someone would be like, the conversation would be like, hey, you have a really nice Jeep. And I'm like, I'll take you on a ride for it if you want to have sex later. And they'd be like, well, will you buy me dinner? I'm like, okay. I mean, that's how the conversation would go. And sometimes it is just that easy. So I understand talking, but this leads me to a question that I wrote down here. Do you ever get aroused during your time with someone, whether it's even not even during intimacy, just because, or is it strictly transactional and this is what I do for a living? This is have you ever had arousal during, or is that even something you can or want to mention?
Well, my philosophy on sex work
Hmm.
is if I can't get aroused during my time with my client, then I am not a very good sex worker, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the client wants me to come most of the time. Sometimes they don't care if I come or not. And then I don't care if I get aroused or not. But but most of the time they're there because they want to feel like they're pleasuring a woman, you
Right.
know? And so for them to feel that way, I need to be pleasured.
Right.
And so for me to be pleasured, I need to be aroused. And it's harder sometimes and it's easier sometimes, but it's my job to find something about the client that arouses me. And whether it's how funny they are or how smart they are, or how good they smell or how hot they are or whatever, it's my job to find it.
Right.
And it's my job to utilize it to receive pleasure so that I can do my job right. So they feel like they pleasured me.
Right.
Because it's not all about them getting off. It really isn't. Most of them are married. Escorts save marriages because, like you pointed out, as women get older, we just don't want to fuck anymore. And that's fine, but they still want to stay married.
Yeah.
And
And
the men still want to feel like they know how to pleasure a woman. So they got to go outside and they got to outsource it. And good hookers know how to come, they don't have to fake it.
yeah, I was gonna ask that whether, I mean, whether it would be something that you could fake. I mean,
Oh, definitely, I can fake it.
well, I mean, I would assume that you could, but I mean, whether you would want to do that during the while you're with someone. I mean, to me that just it seems like it would be part of it. My
Yeah,
when
I
I
hear what
was
you're
talking
saying.
about this to my wife, so we had talked about previously, my wife and I, about me going out. There are a lot of professional women here that their husbands may not want to go to a black tie affair or do this,
Hmm.
that, due to things. So and they need someone there as an escort, not an
Hmm.
escort in title, but someone to be there with it. And I thought that would be good. And my wife was asking, she goes, well, would you have sex with him? And I go, well, I told her, I go, I think we both agree it'd be dependent on the amount of money. And
Hmm.
she once again, she was like, okay, that's fine. But then when I said, well, the prettier they are, the less they're going to have to pay. That's when she was like, she goes, so how pretty do they have to be before they become freebies? And I go, I don't think that would happen. But it was funny because I was just, I started thinking about that. And I will admit, I am a shallow human. Like if you saw my relationship with my wife, you wouldn't think so. My relationship with everyone else, you would just go, oh, he's so shallow. That's so sad. Um, but I'm okay with that too. So, but that's what I think would be hard for me. I would,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
when men come to me asking about being escorts, about them being escorts, that's always what they say. Well, what if they're ugly? What if I'm not attracted to them? And it's like, well, that's part of the job. And so I have
right.
them do this exercise. I say, okay, sit here with me. And the next 5 women that walk through that door, you're going to have to fuck them. And tell me how you feel about that. Tell me
Nice.
the number in your head for that one. A
Right.
thousand, that one, 150. you know,
Right.
and we go through this exercise and we're like, oh, okay. And so that's why my number is what it is, because I got to cover all the bases. You know, I can't put on my website, well, if you're hot, I'll do you for $100. But if
Right.
you're fat and old and ugly, oh, it's going to be like $1,500. You know, it has to be like this middle number
Right.
that
So,
applies to everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I, we joked. She made the comment about, she goes, well, you'll just put a bag. She goes, if they were really ugly, you would just put a bag on their head. And I said, I go, if they're that ugly, I would put a bag on my own head.
Ooh.
I know. But it was just like, I was like, yeah. I'm so shallow though. I really am.
Okay.
I know.
You know, and you were talking about your number of women you sub with, and
Yeah.
it reminded me that intelligent people are really horny.
Oh,
You know, like,
fudge. I mean,
yeah, the smarter you are, the hornier you are.
I think that's why Bobby gets, so that's how she came up with the number. Because I go, do you think that I had sex more or less frequency when I was single or now that we're married? She goes, probably more. I go, well, let's use the number that we have now then, which is still at least 3 times a week. And so I said, I was sexually active for 8 years before we met. There are this number of weeks. You know me that I wouldn't go back to the same well twice. So she like did all the number, and the number she came up with was 753, and that's with, if all the other times I had sex was with just one person, which wasn't the case. And so, but I never felt bad about that, because also the girl, there was never any time. It was always very upfront and very blatant. I mean, not blatant, meaning just like with my wife. I just said I would, like, I remember at the bar, not the first thing I said to her, we didn't talk, but I said, I would really like to kiss you. She goes, well, why don't you? So it was, there was consent, there was everything, but, there was none of this, oh, well, it's too early. We just met hours ago. It's like, oh my God, give it a break.
Yeah. And so you weren't a creep about it. You had consent. It's a one-night stand. You communicated.
Yeah, that's lasted 27 years.
These women. Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I'm glad you don't feel shame about it, because it's hard to undo all that shame as a 55-year-old.
Yeah, and I think, and that's, some people have said, don't you have shame? And I go, no. And I go, you can't shame someone that's incapable of feeling shame. And I don't feel shameful about that. There was just nothing wrong about, I even remember, I mentioned the one about the Jeep. I had a really nice Jeep, and I had a lot of people say that. I remember when I started I started manscaping back in the 80s, and it was more because I had some knee surgeries, which required me to shave my knees to wear these braces. And so in the summertime, it looked like I had hair tube socks on. So I started shaving my legs, and then I was like, well, that looks dumb to have shaved legs and then hairy arms and a chest. So I started shaving, and then eventually I lost my hair, so I shaved my head too. But I remember being at a bar once, and it was in the summertime, and someone's rubbing my leg. And I turn around, and she goes, you shave your legs? I go, yeah. And she goes, and I think it was always so easy for me. But it was never.
Right on.
Yeah, that was great. But they kind of led me to thinking about, because that was, to me, it was a physical, it would have been almost the same as if I would have gone and played basketball or racquetball or done something physical. To me, it was something physical.
It's a sport fuck.
Basically,
is what I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Fucking.
It was better than playing basketball, and I had a less likelihood to sprain my ankle. Now, I have been hurt during sex a couple times, but I wouldn't have sprained. I don't want to curse myself. I don't want to say I won't sprain my ankle in sex, but
the likelihood is lower.
No, but I am starting to learn about. So I used to think sex swings. I was like, who uses a sex swing? And I figured it out. 55-year-old guys use sex swings. I'm not picking my wife up at this point. Put her in a harness and have her, have her support herself there from the ceiling, and that. So, but how is it so your term, not mine, sport fuck, and I do like that term, but when it's more transactional, was that very difficult to get through at the beginning and has become easier? Or have you always this is strictly a transactional, yes, I'm providing care to their soul, to their being, to them themselves, but it's really a transactional
Uh-huh.
situation. Did that affect you, or has it at any point affected you and your work?
Okay, I think I understand what you're asking me. Emotional attachment to sex.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
before it was like, how could you have sex because it was sex. It literally, like, they knew, and we were gonna slap bodies for a little bit, and then we were gonna go on our separate ways. It would be like if I was a photographer and you came and I took your picture, for 20 minutes and you went on your way. I mean,
Or
so
like when you go out to eat and you have a waitress for an hour.
right. Yeah. So
It's a service.
so with this, does the transactional part of it, has it ever impacted, because it sounds like your pricing is fairly static. You said that you try to price, somewhere in between, not the highest, not the low. So to fall somewhere in between. So are there additional things that people could say, oh, well, we haven't tried this before, would you be interested in this? And you'd be like, well, that would be a specific donation or something of that
Hmm.
nature.
Yeah, I hear what you're asking. So, to answer your first question, it takes a certain mindset to be in sex work anyway. Some girls aren't going to make it because they attach emotion to sex. I don't. I'm a slut. You're a slut.
Yes,
It's
I
fine.
am.
Okay? I love being a slut. I've always been a slut. I've been a slut since before I even knew what sex was. So, I have no problem with the whole transactional thing. In fact, it's better to not get emotionally attached to your clients. It's kind of stupid to do that
Right.
because they're clients and they're paying you to fuck you. They're not paying you to be, your friend or what all this. You can pretend. You can pretend. We can be friends for an hour, whatever. We can have friendly text once in a while. That's fine. But no, no emotion. You
Right.
have to be able to detach emotion from sex. Now, with your second question, which I hope I can remember, it was, do I upcharge for certain services?
Right.
Yeah, if you want to take a video, there's going to be some upcharge for that. If you want to, if you, well, it's tricky because you can't say explicit sex acts over a text, right?
Right.
So they can't come at me with like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and we're going to do this and how much for that?
Right.
Because that's entrapment and now I'm blocking you because you're trying to get me arrested.
Right.
So it's like we have to have this conversation in person. And now that we're in person and I can see you and I can feel your vibe, now we can talk about money. And yeah, sometimes when people ask for certain things, I need to ask for a higher donation because they either entail more physicality than I want to give for the amount that I have posted, or it's going to take more time, or it's weird. And I'm into weird. I can do weird. I love weird. Okay. Yay. More weird. Um, but sometimes it's really weird. Like the guy that wanted me to pretend I was his 13-year-old niece. Yes, there's an upcharge for
I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
that.
Hold on. Hold on. I think I have a sound for that. Did you say 13-year-old niece?
Yeah. So I just want you to sit on my
Why would they
lap.
tell? Why couldn't
Yeah.
they just be creepy and say a 13-year-old? Or no, that's
Oh.
still creepy. Why couldn't they just say a niece? My grown niece.
Mm,
Why would I
I,
don't ugh. See,
I don't
that's
know.
what
I can't get into their heads. That's not
uh,
a good place for me to be.
that is so
Yeah.
so
So
that
that's creepy and weird.
so
And
that's gonna
they
lead
need to
me
pay me more.
to questions that I have on here, which is a two-part. What is the oddest thing that you did that you didn't think you would, like, maybe you didn't even think about? Maybe it was that, being someone's 13-year-old niece. But like, what is the weirdest thing that you did do, and what's the weirdest thing that you've ever been asked that you were like, fuck no? Or maybe that wasn't the reply. Maybe it was more diplomatic, like, oh, I don't think that I'll be able to fit that inside my body, or something to that nature.
Oh gosh.
I
Off the
still
top of my
13
head,
13-year-old
yeah, that
niece.
one's pretty weird. That one's up there. He wanted me to be his 13-year-old niece, and we had to do it on video. So,
So
and then there's,
can I ask? Because now I'm curious. So did is it like pigtails and like,
mhm.
I mean, I don't. Oh my gosh.
It was hard. I mean, it was difficult. It was difficult for me to pull that off, but think I did okay. And it involved like pigtails, squeaky voices, and
Oh
you
my,
know, yeah. Oh, Uncle Dave. Ah,
hold on,
yuck, it's weird. It makes me gross out.
hold on.
Yeah, that's right. I'm your 13-year-old niece.
Oh yeah, baby, this is gonna be hot.
Did it go something like that? I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'm assuming that it went not exactly like that, but something like that. And here's another thing. I just looked at the this note here because I have tried. So maybe my wife. I've been trying to get my wife to do like videos. I go, we have sex all the time. What? All we have to do is hit record and upload them. I go and wait for the tens of dollars to roll in. And I told her, I'm 55, she's 47. I think we're both still pretty hot, even at our age. And so, but I have to remind her, I go, there is an expiration date on me, not for living. Well, there's that too. But I think that whatever looks I still think I have at 55 probably won't be here much longer. So I keep trying to tell her. But on your website, you said that MILFs are that make the best escorts. Why?
Oh, MILFs make the best escorts because we know how to put up with a lot of weird stuff. You know,
That makes sense.
we're really nice. We're older, so we're more experienced. A lot of my clients, they're like, "No way, I'm not having sex with a 23-year-old. No way. They don't know what they're doing." Blah 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 blah. They like MILFs because we can talk about stuff. A lot of the clients have kids and they want to be able to talk about being parents. You know,
Or 13-year-old nieces.
whatever. And
Oh, it's okay. I like this, Uncle Bob.
That's right, you do.
I hope that's in your head. Now, the next time someone asks you to be a relative of theirs, I hope those two voices are stuck in your head. So you're welcome.
thank you for that.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
no charge, I hope.
No.
Where were we?
Oh, we're
like,
talking about
totally got
MILFs.
distracted.
One of my
Oh,
favorite
MILFs.
subjects. My wife's a MILF. So hold on.
Yeah, MILFs are hot.
Yeah. And I have seen your pictures, very nice pictures on there. Oh, and who?
Thank you.
So, and then you had briefly mentioned this before, but there was also someone, Holly Clark, was on your. There's a link on your website. Now, I wanted to ask, did you mentor Holly, or did you just?
Yeah, she was. She was my first
Okay.
mentee, and I've had many. But when they go off and do their thing, I take their pages down. So right now, I don't have any. And ladies, if you're in the mood, hit me up. But Holly's my girl. She's like my best friend in real life.
Now, let me ask you this before we go on with Holly. You said if someone is interested, do they need to be like you're in the Reno area, correct? Do they need to be in the Reno area, or could they reach out to you if they are in a county or municipality or somewhere where they would be able to perform this type of work, whether fully or in some modified status? Are they required to be in a certain, or will you help anyone from anywhere?
I will help anybody, anywhere. I
Okay.
don't care if it's legal where you are or not. We'll figure it out.
Okay. And
Because
see,
I want these girls to feel safe and have someone to have their back. It's more important
and do you
than where
find
they are.
as a mentor that are you still learning from the people that you mentor? Like they may come up with a question or things, or is it just all you giving the information? Because I would assume that in 10 years, well, here's another question. As a courtesan, as opposed to what I would, like to me, I think of a prostitute. I would think if I was to describe one, well, someone's standing on a corner doing multiple tricks in an evening. I guess that's how it'd be said. With your clientele, how often are you booked, or is that something you can share?
Oh, it just depends on my mood. And some days I'll be in production mode and I can do, I mean, the most I've done in one day was 5. I haven't done that in a while. I'm getting a little old for that. But hey, when you're on, you know? So the most I'll do in one day now is like 2 or 3. But that doesn't happen that often.
Right.
I'm a low volume provider these days because
You can be.
I can be.
Right.
Yeah, I'm picky. I'm busy and picky. I have all these reasons why I don't need to turn tricks the way I used to turn tricks. But new girls, hey man, that getting paid to fuck is addictive. And I remember the first time I got money to fuck, and I was like, hell yes, I'm doing this as much as I can. And I did. And that's the experience that most of the girls get in the beginning. They're like, yes, line them up back to back. I don't care. Give me 15 minutes in between. And I'm like, all right, girl, let's go make that money. And that's fine. And I'm ready to be there to help them with that. That's just not what I do anymore. And do I still learn from them? Hell yes. I had this transgender girl. She wanted me to mentor her. I didn't know shit about transgender girls. And I know a lot more about it now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, and that's, I was thinking about, I asked if men could do this. At least, well, at 55, I sometimes will find it hard even to go back to back days.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I guess once in the last year, twice in one day. So, I mean, I think I could still, but I just, while you were saying that, I was like, I wonder if that would make it more difficult for a man, or if a woman was going to see a man for that capacity, is that what like you said, that the men wanted you to climax or reach orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the women clientele going to a man, whether they would expect the same thing, or whether they just want to get off. If the guy can bring them to climax, they don't care. They don't need to be showered with stuff, for lack of a better
I think
term.
you might be right. I think, unless they have this thing in their mind where maybe they were told they don't know how to suck dick or something, and so now they want to make sure they do, or whatever.
Right.
But I think what women would want is like, oral sex, maybe a good deep dickin', and snuggles, and to be listened to, right? And to have the guy like actually listen to them instead of tune them out, and because women love to fucking talk, so do men. And blah 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 blah, and like to listen and be able to engage and ask questions and seem interested. It's a little bit harder than it sounds.
See, this
And I
pisses
think
me
that's
off
what
because this
women
sounds like
want.
my perfect job.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because the first time, and it was my wife and our oldest daughter, they're like, Dad, you should become an escort, or find a sugar mama. And I was like, oh, and I go, well, if I become an escort, I'm assuming, I go, is there a minimum amount that I need to be paid? Because once again, going back to the hot girls, if I just said, yeah, it's only $1. Do you got $1? Can you Venmo me? Perfect. Okay, let's get this done. I mean, they said, they go, oh, all you got to do is like, it was funny because they're like $8,000 a month, and I'm like, that's not even $100,000 a year. And so I was like, I mean, I would have been happy with that, but it was just funny. I was like, wow, you think so little of me. I don't even get to 6 digits for you all.
Wow.
But it is something that, I mean, I don't know now. When I think about it now, it's never about the sex, because that's when Bobby and I talk about, like, it would be more about what you said, the listening, the companionship. I mean, some people may want to go to a corporate event where they're having fun with the person that's on their arm and not the husband that doesn't want to be there. And I mean, I'm sure that my wife has had to go to stuff with me that she hasn't want to be at. And if she's like, oh, I would gladly pay for someone else to go in my stead. But that's when we talk about when it goes off the rails, when we start talking about sex, and I'm like, well, yeah, hot girls are going to be a lot cheaper. But my counter to that was, hot girls probably are not going to pay for a 55-year-old guy to take them anywhere. So
You never know.
You never know. But that
like you said, to go to the event, you got to get dressed up. You have to own a fucking tux to begin with. Know how to
I
tie a
do
bow
a nice
tie.
royal blue
Exactly.
tux.
And then what woman wouldn't want a handsome man on her arm that's well spoken and can converse with everybody? And then when they're done, he rubs her feet, because she's been in these heels all night standing, and then she gets a foot rub. Holy shit, yes, please sign me up. I bet you'd be booked every night.
Oh my gosh. Seriously. I mean, and that would allow me to do my podcast more, because I still have to have a regular full-time job. And it sounds like with you, you're kind of able to massage your schedule to work in your favor for the most part. So I mean that would be a big plus as well. So I may have to fill out the old Liv LaRue mentoring packet there.
Yeah.
So because we're kind of talking about escorts and meeting people and things like that, are there red flags that 100% stand out the first time you start interacting with someone? You've met someone, and I don't know how it normally goes back, but you said like you talk to someone even if you're on a plane. So let's say you give them their card, they reach out to you, but in your initial meetings, are there certain red flags that you become aware of where you're just like, nope, I know this goes no further?
Yeah. Definitely. Like I said before, when the initial thing is how much for a blowjob, and I'm like,
Right.
no, sorry. That's easy. That's an easy one. But like, if they're hammered, I don't want to hang out with someone who's hammered.
Right.
Or I raise the price significantly. Let me just say that, because I have recently hung out with someone who was probably blacked out and had a lot of chemicals in them, and it was obvious that they were hammered. And I just kept taking their money, man, until their wife called on the phone, and then I left. But like, that's not somebody I want to see again. That's not somebody
Right.
I would even consider like a good client, right? I was just being opportunistic. Other red flags: if they're rude to the waitress, the stewardess, anybody, if they're just like ingratiating or like rude, I don't want to hang out with them, because they're going to be like that to me.
Right.
And I don't like feeling like that. That's why I'm not a waitress anymore, because I'm tired of rude fucks. So that's a red flag. And maybe I'm picky. Maybe I'm just being picky. Maybe I shouldn't be so picky, but I think it's working out for me just fine.
But I think you, and I don't know. I mean, I think I would be picky. I mean, because I do not suffer fools lightly, which would be the thing that would probably get to me the most. Is I see, that's where I may have trouble doing that, is I don't know whether I'm good at small talk. I usually avoid it like the plague, just because of the people that generally bring it up. But I mean, it's so weird. I mean, as I was getting ready to talk to you, I don't remember being as nervous to talk to someone, because I do think what you do is very misunderstood. And I think that's a shame that it's misunderstood. A couple times when I mentioned that I was going to be speaking to you, and I didn't use courtesan because I hadn't even looked up the word yet, so I didn't use it. So I was using madam. They're like, what? And I was like, tried to give it, and they were just, I don't know. So it just seemed like there's still so much negative perception around it, and I wish that changed. Maybe our conversation today will help change that a little.
Thank you. I agree, and that's why I do what I do, and I just try to be open, and I try to connect with people. It's like, oh, your kid's in football? My kid's in football. Oh, they're on the same team? Funny.
I mean,
oh, I must be a human.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, because I do get what you mean, that sometimes people just need someone.
Dehumanize us.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, but they need that. They need to unload, and they need someone that can listen and give them good feedback. And that's amazing that you provide that service, because it does sound like that's a majority of what your services are. And the others
need to be seen.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, going to a more serious note, because you do reference it on your website a little about human trafficking, which is horrible. Is that because I know that when they talk about sex workers and the sex trade, they always try to directly tie it into human trafficking. I know that it is a huge issue. Is that an issue in what you do, or do you see that in your area? Or do Or is that even
Go
something
ahead.
that you can even, is that even something you would be able to identify whether someone is in that situation?
I feel like the majority of the human trafficking that I see, now I know there's a lot that goes on in the darkness that I don't see because I don't creep around in the darkness. But it's like the massage parlors and the girls coming here from other countries, and that's what they're getting involved in.
Being forced into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I see that a lot. I don't know about where you live in Kansas City, but there are hundreds of massage parlors in Reno, and we're not a very big city.
Right.
Um, so I feel like that's the most that I see that's out there. I know the girls in the brothels, I don't think they're trafficked because they are very, very strict on that kind of stuff there. You have to go through all these hoops to even work at a brothel. You have to have a sheriff's card, you have to have a business license, and you're not going to go do all that if you're being trafficked, but
Right.
maybe the guy that's trafficking you will. I don't know. I don't think it. I've seen I've seen some girls that obviously look like they were pimped out.
But
But
that's
now
what
we're
is
kind of in the gray area. Are you being trafficked or do you just have a pimp?
right. Yeah. I just saw that, and that was one thing that, whenever they mention it, when they mention, and you are right. I guess that there was a thing many years ago here in Kansas City where they busted a whole bunch of massage parlors that were doing that, and they were involved in that. But that was the big thing, that it was human trafficking. And I did see that on your website, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I also want people to know that there's still as much fun as we're having talking about it and how information you're being about what you do. There's still a dark side to this. Do you think that if all states became a little bit more, even a little bit more structured, like what Nevada is, that would help reduce that? Or do you even know the
I think
trafficking?
that, yeah, I think if sex work was more accepted and more, if there were more rules around it and more legal, that the human trafficking might go down because people wouldn't have to operate in this dark area and be forced to get what they need and want in ways that aren't safe and healthy,
Right.
right? In parts of the country, it's so taboo to be a sex worker, and yet, if you want to have sex with someone for money, how are you going to do it? You have to go through all these devious, dark ways to get to. I don't even know. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky and blessed to be where I'm at.
And
And
I did an
Lord.
episode on incels, which
Mhm.
which I was unaware. Real, I mean, I'd heard the term, but I'd never really given it much thought. And then after I did an episode and a half on them, I wish I never talked about them again. But so the involuntary celibate. But I often wonder if but I don't even know whether, because I'm like, those guys need to get laid, but they can't. I mean, they because they don't know how to treat a woman, and I don't know whether something being out. I don't even know, because at first I was like, well, if they just got laid, if sex work was, if they could find out, because then maybe they would be able to find out what women actually want, because it's whatever they have, whatever they're giving, that's not what women want. So,
And this is where we foray into my sex therapy business, because
yes,
a lot
let's
of the
talk about
people I
that.
work with, that's kind of their position. And, they don't know what women want. They're your age. They've had sex maybe once, twice in their life. And we're working through these issues, and they're involuntarily celibate, right? They don't want to be
Right.
celibate. And yet they're completely clueless, and there might be physical factors that also add to this. These guys need some help,
Right.
and what are they going to do? And they can go to the massage parlor and get a happy ending, but that does nothing to help them towards their goals
No,
of
because
not
I
being
think
celibate anymore.
yeah, I think they need to learn. They never had someone model perhaps how to treat a woman, haven't had the interaction that I don't know, because God, when I was doing research on that, I was like, I cannot believe these people exist. I mean, I could, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know. It was just
Yeah.
it was just very tough for me, and that's why. So on your sex therapy business, what percentage of your clients for your sex therapy are also clients as you as a madam or a courtesan? Or is it, is it always intermingled?
It's never intermingled.
Okay.
I try to keep them very separate.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, do they wish they could intermingle? Yes, that happens often. It's a small town. They can use the internet, and they always think they're so clever when they text me on my sex therapy text that they found my website over here, my Liv website.
Right.
They're like, look what I found. I'm like, congratulations, you can use the internet, but no, you
Right.
don't get that because you're in therapy and you need therapy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
that
we can't go both ways.
That makes sense. Yeah. Say I hadn't even thought of that. So
I just can't do it.
Right. Yeah. I think that would be unhealthy for them. Oh yeah, that could cause all sorts of problems with it. So
All sorts.
what is you've been doing this for 10 years. You obviously enjoy doing it. You enjoy the mentoring process of this as well. So what do you see the next few years for you?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I would like to get my biggest little escort service back up again, because for a while there it was rocking. I had 8 girls. I had a condo downtown. It was awesome. We were all making money and it was great. And then COVID happened and they all left town. All my girls that were working for me, they went one way or the other to go be with their family.
Right.
And the clients got freaked out and they jacked all the rates up in rent here in Reno, and we had the sprawl come over from California, and it was just bad. So a series of unfortunate events for my business happened in between 2020 and 2022, which forced me to be solely independent with nobody to work for me, and I'm sad. So hopefully I'll get some more girls in, some more women in, not girls.
Maybe a man.
Maybe a man or two.
There you go.
Maybe a straight man, maybe a gay man, transgenders. I don't really care,
Yeah, see,
Let's
that's the thing is when I heard about porn is that I hear that guys that do straight porn don't make any money. It's all in gay porn, and I think guys are disgusting. So that's just my own and I think I'm disgusting too. I mean, I think I'm one of the leaster disgusting people, and I'm glad my wife doesn't think it. But so I was like, so who knows that maybe you'll have a Midwesterner come out there. Oh my gosh, I'm so old. That's not what they need.
You're not that old.
I know.
You never know.
I know.
Men just get better with age, and to be honest, I don't really even see men that are younger than 50. I shouldn't say that, but it's kind of true. Like,
so
if
is that
you're
just
a client of mine and you're under 50, you're a lucky bastard.
Is it because they're more difficult to talk with? It's just what makes men over 50 a more desired target demographic right now?
Their ego has chilled out a little. These men in their 30s and 40s, they're like so ego driven.
Right.
And also, let's talk about porn culture. They learned how to fuck from porn, so now we have to deal with that, and
Is that not how it's done?
Fun. No. Well, you've had sex with thousands of women, so you know how it's done.
I know exactly how
And
it's
this was
done.
before the internet even, so you had to learn the old-fashioned way.
We had to actually look at pictures in magazines. None of this having it on your phone. That's ridiculous. Drives me insane.
And I don't want to have this dialogue with my partner. Like, you like that? You like that? You like that? Suck that cock. Suck that cock. Shut the fuck up. I cannot have a good time if you're constantly coming at me with this porn language. Some women like it.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Yeah. Now, have you found? Let me ask you this, because I'm gonna tie my wife. I'm gonna tie my wife into this. I just had to. My studio is also my living room, so I think one of my children are in town, but hopefully they're in their bedroom with their door shut and they don't hear any of that. So has there been anything that maybe you didn't do before sexually that you ended up doing? I.e., I'll do it. So we spent the first 26 years of our relationship, and my wife didn't want me anywhere near her butthole area. And now she's found out just how sensitive that area is. And so that has changed great. That's something that has changed dramatically for us. But so was there something that you didn't do and then someone said, "Oh, I want you to try this." And you're like, "Okay, I'll try." Then you're like, "Oh, that wasn't that bad."
Yeah, there's some of that stuff.
Care to share
how
any of them?
X-ray-
Because I may have to try one of these. Because
Well, I've never had my nipples electrocuted before.
what the heck? I wonder
It's a
if.
thing.
No, go ahead. So someone wanted, and how was it?
It was interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would do it again. I mean, I'm not gonna go seek it, but I
Right.
didn't buy the gizmo that does it. But definitely, it was an interesting sensation. And they connected the ones that went to my nipples to my clit, and I was like, okay, I can see how this would be a thing.
See, I think I've seen too
Yeah.
many horror films where the voltage goes from like 9 to 1,000,000, and you're like, "Hey, this feels really." Yeah. So
It's a trust exercise. To
well, it's also I'm a stoner, so there's a lot of me that still has paranoia in it. So yeah. So hey, hold on. What are you hooking up there? Okay, I'll try anything once. So yeah, man, I am so
Yeah.
glad that we had a chance to. I was so nervous about talking to you, and just like I think you do with your clients, you have been just amazing to talk with over the last hour. I just want to tell
Aw,
you
I
that.
had a really great time on your show, Ro. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope to have you back sometime, and then we can just talk about you and I and just life in general or whatever. Because you, very, very. I mean, I understand every single review that was written because, like I say, almost all of them talk. I think if you had to do a word search and find the most common, it was sparkling eyes, beautiful smile, and a great listener. I mean, I think that's were the most common threads in your reviews.
Aw,
I did read
thank
most of them.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
So I
you.
thought,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Well,
sweet.
I wanted to. I mean, I was very interested because, like I say, and I'm not kidding. Bobby and I have talked about this because I love suits, and like I said, I have a tuxedo. And so last year I changed weight, not really on purpose. I had lost some weight. No one really knew why, and so none of my suits fit. I got rid of them, and I ordered new suits, and I ordered they were all custom, and I ordered a custom tux. My wife's like, "Why would you order a tuxedo?" I go, "Because when you have a tuxedo, you will find places to wear a tuxedo."
It's true.
And it's true. It's about that and about the suits too, because we went to church and it was funny. We went to church last week and we walked in and I could see the other women looking at me wearing a suit and then looking at Bobby. Then they would look at their husbands. Like, why are you in church wearing gym shorts and a t-shirt? You are going immediately to hell. So
Oh, nice.
So I feel like there might be a market out there for someone like me, but I am glad after talking to you that you are out there and that there is a market for you because I mean, the physical stuff aside, I think the service, I mean, talking to you, your voice, you can hear that's one of the things that, when you do spend some time talking to someone, you can hear in their voice, the inflection and things that you enjoy what you do. You really enjoy the relationships that you have with your clients. And that's really amazing because I don't think a lot of people that started listening to the show may have thought that that's the type of relationships that you would have.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about sex work.
Yeah, there are. I mean, do you ever feel like it's part of your mantle to help dispel those, or do you just say it doesn't matter? I'm just gonna do my thing, or do you try to dispel them when you can?
I try to dispel them when I can, and I feel like it is part of my calling as I get older to do even more advocacy work
And
towards dispelling them. Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I
I would love to
appreciate.
start a union. Wouldn't that be great? We could
It
all
would
have
be.
health insurance. Holy shit.
It would
Who
be.
would have thought?
I watched, and I think it was Amsterdam. Is that where they have the red light
Mm-hmm.
district? I think it was a Vice thing. And I thought the way they did it there, like the women all had rooms. They would talk to the person on the outside, whether they came in or not. It was regulated. It just seemed like a very adult way to promote sex workers or that type of industry. And I do agree with you. A union would be amazing because you wouldn't just have, I would think, physical in person, but I think it would do all sex work, even, OnlyFans stars and stuff, because I don't know any of them. I mean, like I say, I have an OnlyFans and I'm not a star because I've never posted a video, but I would assume that they have issues too, that they're going to have the same type of issues that you have.
Challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe one day, we're going to keep working towards it.
That's awesome. Man, I am so glad that, and I'll be honest, you reached out to me to be on the show, and I am so glad you did. I will tell you that you were the first person that I reached out to have on the show a couple weeks ago when this happened, and we thought we had a date, and then Google Calendars changed the time and things, so it sent things out of whack. So I am so glad that you were available today. I mean,
I'm so glad you made time for me. Thank you.
I mean, you have an amazing voice. You have the way that you talk. I mean, it just, I can feel it on this end. So I can just imagine that the people that you deal with and the clients that you have. I see why you get such raving reviews. So I want to thank you so much for being on the program.
That's very kind of you to say. It is my honor and pleasure to be on your program. Thank you for being so open-minded and kind-hearted and lovely to talk to.
Well, thank you very much. And I mean, like I say, I hope to have you on, and next time we can just talk about you and me, or what's going on in our lives, or what's going on in the world. So, like I say, you're so wonderful to talk to. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. And let me know if you want to start up your side hustle.
Yeah, you may see
as a
some.
DILF.
It's funny because our oldest a few years ago, like I'm an idiot. I mean, I don't understand why they didn't think that I would know the word DILF. And because my daughter said something and she just looked at me like, and I go, "What, do you not think I know what that word means?" And she goes, "Well, do you?" And I go, "Do you not think I get called that on a daily basis?" And just turned around and walked out of the room. So, but she now has a sweatshirt. That same child has a sweatshirt that says "Do DILFs, not drugs." Now, I disagree with that. I think you can both do DILFs and drugs. So
You definitely do DILFs and drugs.
Yes, you just need
your daughter.
Yeah, just in moderation. Yeah. And I think I would have to draw the line. I'm glad I don't have any nieces, but that is going to stick with me for a while. I will tell you this. So I'm glad that this story came. My wife last year or a couple years ago did braces, and they were clear braces, but there would be every once in a while I would look at her and I would just be like, eesh. I mean, just because of the braces. So I'm glad that your story about the 13-year-old niece happened after my wife had braces, because I probably might not be able to touch her again. I'd have to have her look the other direction. Oh,
wow.
That story, that is haunting that someone, I wish there would have been a camera on your face when that was asked. Because I would have I don't think I'm not sure that's a question where you can hide your initial reaction.
Luckily, my back was turned to him because I was sitting on his lap.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that he wasn't able to see that, because I don't know, man. Like you say, I guess I would have had a price. Actually, I would do that. If someone asked me to dress up like their 13-year-old niece, I would do it.
That is something I would like to see. And you could put that on your OnlyFans page.
I probably could. Yeah. See, there's things I could do. Man,
Always
Olivia,
thinking, I'm here to help, you know.
I know you are. I appreciate it. Man, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. You are an amazing individual, and I'm glad you reached out. I think that you and I are going to stay in touch, and I look forward to that. So thank you so much for
Aw.
being on the show.
Well, you're very kind, and I had a great time, and you're obviously a genius, no matter what anybody else.
Aw, thanks. And do you want to, are there any Instagram, website, anything that you want to promote for yourself before we sign off?
Well, sure. I would love to promote my website. It's www.livlarue.com, LIVLARUE.com.
And go
That's
see it.
about it.
It is a
Mhm.
great website. There is plenty of information. And like I say, that's where I read the reviews. And I think people will just be, after listening to you on here, they will not be amazed by those reviews. I will just tell you, listening to you will have ruined it. They'll read those reviews and go, I get it. When I read those
Aw.
reviews, I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you. And now I understand. So
Aw.
for everyone else, thank you so much for listening to the show. I will talk to you next time. My name's Ro. I want to thank Liv LaRue for being on. Remember, www.livlarue.com. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.